Welcome to episode 4 of Accessing the Akashic Records, Densities and Dimensions, the Evolution of Consciousness. What is this life we are experiencing? What is consciousness? Do we really evolve? Come on, let's access the Akashic Records. So, first off, what is God? Referred to as the infinite creator, intelligent infinity, and many other names, simply God. God is consciousness. It's the Holy Trinity. It's the mind, body, spirit. It's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the feminine, the masculine, the duality and singularity. It's a drop in the ocean. It's the ocean itself. And it's the ocean within the drop, for in every single atom is the sum of the total universe, the blueprint of it. So we know from this, and thanks to modern quantum physics, all is holographic, fractal and infinite in nature. At the micro-quantum level it is. Fractal, quantum, infinite and holographic. So just as the first slide, you saw the white light, the singularity going through the prism. Coming out the other side is the visual spectrum, the 7 rays of visual light, also known as a rainbow, same as the chakras. So too does consciousness throughout the 7 densities and dimensions through this evolution of consciousness. It splits out into 7. So that's what we're going to explore. Geometry, mathematics, frequency, sound or music are the same basic language of creation. They are patterns, the matrix, the creative principles that govern our reality. And I'll go into each area in great detail in later episodes, but for now let's talk about the music side and in particular octaves, so frequency and vibration, because that's pretty much how the best way of explaining most simplest way of explaining the densities of the evolution of consciousness. So here you have an octave, 7 notes, and they correspond to the colours of the rainbow or chakras. So you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. So they correspond with the rainbow, with the chakras. It's no coincidence. It's all the creative principle woven into the matrix of how our reality works, how this creation, this octave of creation works, this vibration, this frequency. It splits off into those 7 rays, 7 densities, 7 dimensions, 7 heavens, 7 hells, so on and so forth, as I mentioned in the previous video. So, yeah, that all corresponds. On the lower graph there, you've got the octaves 1 through to 49, 49th being the visual spectrum that we can see, the rest we can't see. Okay, so let's talk about density. The higher the frequency or cycles per second, which is known as hertz, is what we know as density. Here you can see the increase in vibration or frequency with each colour of the octave. Now you can only see 5 of the 7 as indigo and violet are missing there on that graph, but you can see how they increase in vibration or frequency, which basically, if you look at the top graph there, you have more wavelength within a shorter cycles per second, more hertz, more vibration, more frequency. That indicates higher density. So it works the same. It goes through those colours. Same with the chakras. It goes through the chakras. They become higher in vibration and frequency. Hence, you have connection with spirit when you open up your violet chakra. Spirit or God, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. Next, so yeah, that's how that works. So yeah, as it increases, so an entity that's moving through the densities of consciousness towards becoming one with the infinite creator is becoming more dense, has more light contained within it. It's becoming less dense physical matter. So density pertains to the basically the individual consciousness's vehicle or form, and dimensions pertain to the environment in which their entity resides. So again, density pertains to the vehicle or form of the entity, whereas the dimensions pertain to the environment in which the entity resides. So I hope that makes sense. As I mentioned already, everything is fractal and infinite. So an octave, there's infinite sub-octaves within it, and each octave is part of a larger scale octave. So no matter how much you zoom in or zoom out, the pattern is exactly the same. So just like the Mandelbrot set, which is more of a mathematical representation of fractal geometry, it's mathematic and geometric. So you can see the pattern of the golden ratio and the Fibonacci here in these octaves. I'll run my mouse over it. So you've got octaves within the octave. So that's the octave there. This circle, if I can get a round circle with the mouse correctly. So that's the octave there. That's 2 octaves. And then, so you've got octaves within the octave, which we call sub-octaves. So take note of this. I'll be talking more about this when I explain the densities and dimensions. So you've got octaves, sub-octaves within an octave. So as you can see there, it spirals around like the Fibonacci, becoming exponentially larger, and then becomes another octave above the octave. So that's the octave, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So that's 8. So that's 7, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C is the beginning of the next octave. So it's your 7 notes within the octave. I'll go into fractal sonic geometry in another episode, but basically just to give you a basic understanding of octaves within octaves and how the golden ratio and Fibonacci work. It's a natural governing principle that's contained within the matrix of our creation that we experience. Okay, so that's that. So anything that comes from the creator is essentially a distortion of the creator itself. And the core principles are these first 3 distortions. First comes free will, which is paramount above all in order for the creation to work, because without it, the creator is creating dialogue with itself. So we can imagine being a puppeteer with both hands talking to each other. Just doesn't really create rich dialogue to learn from. The second is love, and the third is light. So basically, these are governing principles built into the matrix of everything. Love, then light. Light becomes, as we know, becomes dense, becomes matter. Next, we have, so the universe is essentially a manifestation of the Creator wanting to learn of itself in infinite ways. So how is this done? So the infinite pretty much individuates itself into stepping down into a logos there, as you can see, or a logoi, which is plural. The logos is also known as the creative principle of love and light, or love light, or intelligent energy. Basically, it's an underlying matrix for the emanation of creation. It's the first thought. Next, it steps down to the sublogos, or logoi, which we know as the sun. The sun essentially adds its own creative principles and to the already existing ones of the logos. Then we have sub-logoi, which is humans, and humans add their own creation, add to their own way, add in their own way to the creation, in many ways, on a collective level and also on an individual level. So within our octave of consciousness evolution, we have first, second and third densities and dimensions which exist in space-time. So it's essentially physicality. As you can see there in the graphic, we have matter, life, waking reality. It's a holographic construct. So time, space. Then we have fourth density or dimension, which straddles in between space-time and time-space. So it's in between physicality and non-physicality. Then we have fifth, sixth and seventh, which exist in time-space. So it's non-physicality, which is reality. This is the illusion. Non-physicality is reality. It's spirit. It's the afterlife. It's dreaming. It's the blueprint. It's the consciousness field. It's basically everything real. Which we're in the illusion phase, in the illusion stage. So everything here seems like real, but it's not. The other side is exactly what real is. We've got this veil of forgetting. I'll go into that in the next episode, so don't get too wrapped up in it. So let's get into the densities and explain them in great detail. First density is the density of awareness and consists of basic microbial life, minerals, elements, rocks, and so on. They can be best described as having a basic primordial awareness. So you got rocks at the lower end of the scale, so that would be first sub-octave, and you could say that more advanced microbial life would be the seventh sub-octave. So you got, like I explained in that musical scale diagram with the circles connecting to one another with the Fibonacci evident. Basically, you have octaves within octaves, or sub-octaves within an octave. Basically, that's what happens here in the creation of densities and dimensions. You have, like I said, lower life forms, less aware, and so on, to more aware on the higher end of the spectrum, so of the sub-octaves. So it's infinite and fractal within and above. So second density is the density of growth. It consists of plants and animals. It's where consciousness becomes basically self-aware. It's starting to show self-awareness, has instincts and feels pain, pleasure and emotion, and starts to develop those things more and more in the more advanced stages of that life. So you could say plants would be probably the lower end of the spectrum, the first sub-octave, and then you'd have something like household pets, dogs and pets, cats, things like that. Basically, those that are being taught more self-awareness and have more self-awareness and showing more emotion and things like that, becoming, I guess, more like what we would class humans as showing. So second density, this process takes approximately 4.6 billion years. So this is all going off the law of one. Fourth density is the density of understanding and love. And sorry, I've missed a density here. Third density, I should say, is the density of confusion and choice. So it consists of humans or humanoids who experience full self-awareness and full free will, choice, or polarity. So I'll explain the full free will, choice, and polarity. It's basically positive and negative choices, selfish or non-selfish choices, where the selfish is just being focusing on yourself and making choices based on yourself and not considering others, perhaps using controlling mechanisms and things like that. Whereas the positive choices are more things that relate to being good for yourself as well as others. So it's including all. So basically that's polarity in a nutshell, just basically. And the polarity choices, the moral choices that we make. So I'll explain that philosophy in the next episode in great details from the law of one. So fourth density, as I accidentally alluded to, fourth density is the density of understanding and love, and consists of entities that have transcended the 3D confines. As I said before, it straddles in between physical and non-physical. So psi abilities are natural, and social memory is accessible, which I've talked about in the first episode. So go back, watch that first episode if you haven't. You need to watch all of them in a sequential order, because I build upon concepts. So that process of fourth density takes approximately 30 million years. Fifth density is the density of wisdom and light. So it's completely non-physical. It's where an individual consciousness exists as light, and ponders on the wisdom so far gained. Sixth density is the density of unity, where individual entities unite and become an oversoul, a higher self, or social memory complex, as it's called in the law of one. This is where our multi-dimensional nature really becomes evident, because to us it's essentially ourselves in the future. And if you imagine with me here that you're a sixth density entity, you have millions of yourself experiencing the lower dimensions of third, fourth, fifth density, like fingers in a pie, or leaves on a branch, dipping into those dimensions. Millions of yourself that you're stepping down and becoming individuated, because you're a massive built-up consciousness. You're stepping down and becoming. You need to step down in order to exist in those lower dimensions. You can't be your full expanded awareness within these lower dimensions. It just doesn't work. So you've got millions of yourself stepping down into all these different lower dimensions. Like I said, branches on a tree, leaves on a branch, branches on a tree. You're all part of the ultimate sixth density oversoul or higher self simultaneously. So all this is going on simultaneously. Basically, this is exactly what is occurring in all lives that are experienced in space-time, are simultaneous, in that time is happening all at once and is simply an illusion for the souls to experience a rich dialogue, which I mentioned at the start. Now, seventh density is the density of complete oneness. It's a unification of all of the octave, and it's unification with the creator or logos. So eighth density is the next octave, the start of the next octave, and it's becoming a new logos, or having incorporated all previous experience and starting a new creation. So it's a cyclical process. So that's basically the evolution of consciousness in the most oversimplified way I could possibly put it together. I know there's other sources out there with very slight variations of what I talked about, but distortions will come because we translate information using our limited perceptions and understanding of ultimately just trying to describe this process, and it's up to us to discern and believe what we wish. But if you enjoyed this and wish to know more, I encourage you to read the Law of One books and look into where these philosophies appear throughout history and through religion and everything, because just like I've done, basically it shows up everywhere. It's been seeded within humanity for all history so far that is knowable. Now, please make sure you watch all episodes, as I said, in corresponding order, because I do build upon concepts in a logical, sequential order to make sense. And please hit like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff if you enjoyed it. And love and light to you all. Namaste. Check out the next episode, which is the philosophical teachings of the Law of One. So I'll go deep into explaining all about the philosophical concepts that are taught within the Law of One. It's the good stuff. I love it. It's my favourite. Alright, thanks for watching. Love and light.